friends, my name is Kim. Welcome to Healing Place Cottage. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm so happy to have you with me today. Today we're going to make another recipe from the book Diabetes Meals by the Plate. We made another recipe from this book, which was chicken relleno, which was chicken stuffed with poblano peppers that was absolutely delicious. So I'm really looking forward to making this recipe. Today we're making sweet barbecued glazed turkey with grilled potatoes and steamed green beans. But I'll tell you that I'm going to make some modifications, just as I've mentioned previously, because there are certain things or certain steps that I'm likely not going to do on a weeknight. And I want to be as realistic with these recipes as possible. I also want to encourage you to make whatever modifications you need to make a recipe more accessible to you on whatever night it is that you're not feeling like taking all those extra steps, but still want to eat a diabetic friendly or low carbohydrate recipe. So we're going to start with 2/3 cup reduced sugar ketchup. This will be my first time using reduced sugar ketchup. And we're making our own barbecue sauce. I do know that they make low carb barbecue sauce now, and when this book was written in 2014, it's possible that there were not as many low carb barbecue sauce brands available, so that might be why. They also might just really like the concept of making your own barbecue sauce, which I'm not against. Turn that down just a hair. And we want to add a 1/4 cup of orange juice. So a 1/4 cup of orange juice to our 2/3 of a cup. I'm actually going to remove this from the heat a second because I definitely have that heated up very well. I don't want to burn it. So to this, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of snipped fresh cilantro. And I did buy the fresh cilantro to make in this recipe. We'll go ahead and chop that up. I do have my kitchen scissors available, but I think it's just as easy to chop this up. I don't know that I could snip it any finer than I can chop it. Such a very small workspace. Go ahead and add that in. And we're going to add 1 clove of garlic. Quarter teaspoon of ground cumin. I don't know if you can see this, but it already looks like barbecue sauce. It's already darkening. So we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. I am making a mess here, folks, which is pretty typical of me when I cook. I think I mentioned that in one of my videos previously. I'm a fast cook usually, and that tends to mean that I make a mess. And we're going to add black pepper to taste, or a 1/4 teaspoon, whichever is better for you. I'm not a huge pepper fan, so we'll leave that at a little under a 1/4 teaspoon. We're going to bring it to boiling, which we've already done, stirring constantly. And then reduce the heat to simmer and simmer it uncovered for 5 minutes. So we'll leave it right there. And while we're doing that, I'm going to tell you about my first modification of this recipe. So it calls for taking your potatoes. I've already washed these potatoes. It calls for taking your potatoes and boiling those for 10 minutes. And then grilling the potatoes. And since that's an extra step that I probably would not find myself doing, I probably wouldn't want to get an extra pan out and boil the potatoes while I'm grilling my turkey and doing all of those things. What I'm going to do, I have set my oven for 425, and I'm going to do everything in my oven today. I'm going to go ahead and do all the potatoes that I have here. I'm even going to do the green beans in the oven as well on this same pan as I'm going to roast my potatoes. And I'm going to take olive oil and put olive oil on top of my potatoes. And I don't know the technical term, but smush it around so that they're fully coated. And then I'm going to take some coarse sea salt and top them with coarse sea salt. And I'm going to put them on 1/2 of my sheet, cookie sheet, because I'm going to be using this cookie sheet, as I mentioned, for the green beans later on. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the oven at 425 degrees. And I'm going to put it on one side because the other side is going to be for our turkey. So now it calls for us to grill our turkey pieces for 12 to 16 minutes or until they're 165 degrees Fahrenheit in temperature. And as I mentioned, I am not going to grill these. I'm actually going to cook these in the oven on a grill pan. And I am going to cut my recipe in half. So this calls for 1 large turkey breast medallion split in half horizontally, or 4 boneless, skinless chicken breast halves. So you could do boneless, skinless chicken breast halves, or you could use turkey breast, whatever you prefer. And I am using turkey breast. I love turkey. I love turkey breast. And we're going to go ahead and put this in the same oven that's set at 425 degrees. We're going to put this on the other side. And we're going to set our timer for 10 minutes. And when 10 minutes is up, we will come back and we will add our green beans to that cookie sheet, and we will turn our turkey slices over. I did, if you notice, I put foil on my cookie sheet and on my grill pan. I have a great, I love the idea of low mess cleanup. And so I use tin foil whenever possible. I especially use tin foil whenever I'm using barbecue sauce on my grill pan, because I have a air fryer that grill pan belongs to, and it's works awesome and makes awesome barbecue chicken, but it is a bear to clean up. And so my recommendation is always to use tin foil to cover that. Makes your cleanup so much easier. When you're using a slow cooker, there are slow cooker bags. You can do the same thing with that. So we are going to leave this barbecue sauce here. it says to transfer a third of the sauce to a small bowl and keep the remaining sauce warm. I'm not going to dirty up a small bowl. That third of the sauce is to put on the turkey on the last 2 minutes of cooking. And I'm going to go ahead and just leave it in the pan until time to put that on. And that way we're going to prevent having to wash an extra dish. So as I mentioned, when the timer goes off at 10 minutes, we're going to add in our green beans, and then we're also going to flip our turkey breast. And so I'll be back with you in just a few minutes. Our timer's just about to go off. I went ahead and cleaned up a little bit of my mess while I was waiting. And you can see that the barbecue sauce has definitely turned a darker brown. Looks very much like barbecue sauce at this point. There is a smell in it that it's either the cumin or the cilantro, that having the cilantro heated, that's different to me. I'm not sure which one it is, but we'll see. We'll go ahead and get our green beans. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pour olive oil on our green beans. And top it with some coarse sea salt. If you have kosher salt, that would be perfect. If you don't have either one, you can top it with regular salt. Let's put a little bit of crushed or freshly cracked black pepper on there. Put that back in the oven. I'm going to drain off some of the broth. While we're making a gravy, that would be some good broth for that. Go ahead and flip our turkey. And put that back in the oven. And we're going to set our timer again for 10 minutes. And then when we come back, we will go ahead and put the barbecue sauce, put a third of the cup of barbecue sauce on our turkey. It says to serve it with the remaining barbecue sauce that is warm. So we will go ahead and put a third of the cup of that sauce on in 10 minutes when we check on it again. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I am working to perfect my sourdough starter and my sourdough bread. And so I'm at the point where I am feeding my starter today. I keep it in the oven. And so I needed to take it out, which was a great reminder that I needed to feed it. So I thought I would share with you the process for that. I went ahead and transferred it all to a clean jar. I do that at least every week, sometimes more, depending on how messy the jar looks. And you may be wondering why I'm keeping water in a mason jar, and there's a lot of chlorine in my water. So I found that distilled water works best for me in maintaining my sourdough starter and in making my bread. So I'm going ahead and feeding it. So I feed it a half a cup of all-purpose unbleached white flour, and then a quarter cup of the distilled water. And this utensil is called a spurtle, spelled with a D, S-P-U-R-D-L-E. And it is an awesome utensil. They say that you should steer away from using stainless steel in your sourdough because it's antimicrobial and you're trying to create bacteria, leaving in the good bacteria that is what makes sourdough what it is. So I ordered a spurtle because it was highly recommended, and I have loved it. I actually have 2 of them now, and I use one for cooking and one for actually making my sourdough. I'm looking for, there it is. So when my sourdough is not in the fridge, when it's in the fridge, I cover it with a plastic lid. But when I am trying to keep it active so that I can bake, my goal is to bake in a couple days with this. I just took it out of the refrigerator on Sunday and had started the process of feeding it again and getting it to double in size. You put a rubber band where it is currently so that you can measure that it's doubled in size. And you may think that you'll remember exactly where it was, but you get so encouraged by any amount of doubling or any amount of growth in size that you, if you're like me, you tend to overestimate it having doubled. So this is a good way to keep me honest. But so I use an unbleached coffee filter. And when I'm trying to keep my starter active and prepare to use it, and that way it lets in the yeast that's in the air, lets it in so that it can actually become active and double in size. So I just thought that I would share that while we wait, since we're waiting for our timer to go off, and it looks like we have about 3 more minutes, so I'll check back with you in just 3 minutes. But we'll go ahead and make some of that, one of these kinds. Okay, I did get my, you want to try and make it go in sideways, my meat thermometer. You want to try and make it go in sideways so that you get to the center. And we want it to be at 165. It looks like we're at 170. So we will go ahead and add our barbecue sauce. As you can see, it's quite lovely. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it too and do both sides. I'm not as concerned about having some left over to serve warm with the turkey. One of my favorite things to make with leftover turkey at Thanksgiving is just turkey and onions with soy sauce, sauteed over rice. Absolutely my favorite part of leftovers. I do love a turkey sandwich with mayonnaise. Well, actually, I'm a Miracle Whip girl. Added sugar, you had to go ahead and figure that if it has added sugar, I would prefer that, right? So we'll go ahead and finish off this barbecue sauce. And I actually think that I am going to set this on broil. We'll check on our potatoes and green beans. Looking very good. I'm actually going to set this on broil for 3 minutes. and that way it hopefully will get a little bit of a char. What I love about my air fryer is that it gives it that little bit of a char that makes it taste like it's on the grill. As I was putting my spurtle away, I found, I keep my mom's old wooden spoon in a white pitcher with my spurtle and a couple other things that I use for specifically for baking. And I don't use her spoon, but I keep it there as a reminder. We lost my mom in 2010, and I can't help but think that how much she would love YouTube, and how much because she was really into Facebook and social media. She loved to eBay and just different things. She both sold on eBay and bought on eBay. And I just can't help but think how much she would love YouTube and the platform of real people, because she loved reality TV. And I think YouTube, at least what I watch, is more real than a lot of the reality TV that you see. And I can't help but think that she wouldn't be tickled that that I'm making content for YouTube, because it's very much outside the norm for me, especially at this stage in life. I'm somebody that shies away from even seeing people I know in the grocery store sometimes. And so she would be encouraged, I think, and tickled that I shared her spoon on one of my videos, and that I'm doing this. So we've got just a few more seconds. Take a look. Oh, absolutely looking good. I'm actually going to add 1 more minute, because I can tell it's just almost perfect. So did you make the Hungarian paprika pork chops? Pork medallions? I'm really curious to find out what other people thought of that recipe, and if there was something that you did differently that would make it something that I would want to make again. Like I mentioned, when I came back after the video, I let that cook more, and it absolutely tasted better. It did not taste as raw, and that was the word that I was looking for. And I wasn't sure that I wanted to post the video, but I think it's important for me to be honest and show you the good and the bad. So here's our turkey, which looks lovely, and our potatoes and green beans. We'll go ahead and plate this up. The green beans are just perfectly done. Potatoes feel like they're perfectly done as well. I took a picture really quick, but it looks delicious. Perfectly done. I like a perfect bite, so I'm going to get a little bit of everything on my fork. Very good. I don't know that I would make the effort to make that barbecue sauce. It is not It's not that special to me. It has good flavor, don't get me wrong. It definitely has good flavor, but I don't know that I would take that extra step, especially on a work night, to make the barbecue sauce when I can get low sugar barbecue sauce that I probably like equally. The potatoes this way were perfect. The green beans were perfect, so that was 10 minutes for the potatoes, and then added the green beans. Any more would have been too much for the green beans. I do like my green beans al dente, so that would have been a little too much had we cooked those together at the same time, from start to finish. And then I did 3 minutes at the end on the broiler. Could have gone a little longer on the broiler with the turkey, but also don't want to dry it out. So there's that to consider. But I will definitely make this again. I didn't realize that you could get turkey cutlets this easily, and that they're not really that much different in price than chicken. I know that a lot of people prefer chicken because they consider turkey breast to be a drier meat. You could do this with boneless, skinless thighs. You could do this with boneless, skinless turkey or chicken thighs, or turkey or chicken breast. Definitely will make this recipe again though. But like I said, I probably won't take the time. It's not that important to me to have a homemade sauce, barbecue sauce. So I think that I probably would go with a low sugar barbecue sauce. To give you the details of the recipe itself, so that the turkey was very low in calories. So if you're saying it's either one boneless breast or half of a turkey breast tenderloin, so half of that, 143 calories, just 1 gram of fat, just 5 carbohydrates in that sauce. And it had 28 grams of protein, so that was very good. The grilled potatoes, it did call for the olive oil, so, and it calls for adding sour cream at the end. You can do that. I don't need it, but you could absolutely top them with sour cream. If you did, it looks like it would be 92 calories for 1 serving of potatoes with 3 grams of fat. That's coming from that olive oil, but that's a good fat. Carbohydrates are 14 grams, protein 2 grams. And then the steamed green beans, they had it at just 26 calories and 0 grams of fat, but I put some olive oil on there, so you're probably looking at least 2 grams of fat for that now. Protein at 2 grams and carbohydrates at 6 grams. So total carbohydrates for the entire meal, we had 14 and 6, 25 grams of carbohydrates, and a total of 32 grams of protein and probably around 5 grams of fat. So I don't think, and for calories, you're under 300 calories. So easily under 300 calories, more closer to 250. So I think that's a really, really good weeknight meal. I think it'll be very filling. I will have this the rest of tonight, and then I will have it again this week one time. And I'm not disappointed in any way. So I hope that you enjoyed this recipe. I hope that you decide to make a recipe yourself. And I look forward to seeing you again later in the week with more diabetic friendly recipes, low carb cooking. Thank you and take care.